really looking at God like, man, I feel like you didn't protect me. I feel like you, again, knew these things and just allowed me to get into just a whole mess. Like, if you knew the heartbreak was going to be so bad, if you knew that things were going to happen this way, why did you even allow me to be connected? Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Brianna Thizard's journey. I cannot believe it's April already. The beginning of the year started out so slow, and now it's like, boom, it's April. But thank you so much for tuning in. If you are a new subscriber, thank you for joining. If you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe, like, and comment. So we are gonna get right into it. Today, I feel like this is not gonna be a video like the one with budgets where I'm talking about like different points. This is kind of gonna feel like a little rant. And so today we are gonna be talking about overcoming heartbreak. We're just gonna get into it. So I'm not gonna be all over the place, but again, just overall talk about heartbreak. And so just looking at my own life, and of course I always talk about, like, throughout this whole channel, the 20s, because I'm still in my 20s and it is a whole journey. But when it comes to heartbreak, I would just talk about just where I'm at with that. And so when I'm talking about heartbreak, of course, you can get heartbreak through a family member passing away or not getting a job or losing a job, or through, no longer being with a boyfriend or partner. But I'm talking more so the romantic heartbreak. So that's what we're talking about right now. And so I would say for me, my biggest challenge in just like overcoming heartbreak or just going through a failed relationship, I think I had a lot of questions. Like, I was really, really questioning God. Like, okay, if you know all things and you knew who the person is that I was with, like, why did you put me in a position where I was connected to them? Like, if you knew the heartbreak was going to be so bad, if you knew that things were going to happen this way, why did you even allow me to be connected? And I feel like, in a sense, it just looking at the overall picture of things, like really looking at God like, man, I feel like you didn't protect me. I feel like you, again, knew these things and just allowed me to get into just a whole mess. And so I think that was probably one of my biggest challenges. And I feel like with faith, a lot of times everyone's like, believe in God and, have faith. But I feel like this was the first time in my life where I really questioned God. I've never questioned God before. I always say, like, God always knows the answer. But I feel like during this time in life, it's like, okay, God, like, what's up? But then now I'm going to also put it back on myself. And I realized, like, looking back on everything, I realized, like, I had a relationship with God, going to church and talking to God daily. And I wasn't too good with the Bible, but reading the Bible now and again. But I realized I didn't even ask God if this was the person I was supposed to be connected with. And so it's crazy because a part of me is like, why did you let me do this? But then another part of me is like, did you ask? So it's so interesting. I mean, I think with, heartbreak and with losing someone just in general, I think there's like a cycle of grief. I thought grief only happens when someone dies. I didn't know that you can have grief in a romantic heartbreak. I did not know that. And so it's like an ebb and flow. Like, there's going to be times where you feel like, I'm on a new level. Like, you just feel like, okay, like, I'm straight, everything is great. And then maybe you hear a certain song, or maybe you're in a certain place in whatever region you're in, and then you get like a trigger, or, maybe you're in a certain part of your life or a certain time or a certain scenario where you feel like you're kind of going backwards. And so I feel like it's so cyclical. I kind of thought it was kind of like you're upset, you go through the motions, and then you're good to go. I didn't know that there was like a back and forth. Like, I didn't know that it was ever going to be like so cyclical. And so again, this video is not going to be on how to get over a heartbreak or how to overcome heartbreak. This is just going to be talking about my experience in general. And so one, I would say, really questioning God and just like, why did you let this happen? Two, really also questioning myself and kind of looking back and like, yes, God allowed certain things to happen, but there were certain things that you didn't do in the beginning. One, you didn't ask. Two, you really didn't have any type of discernment. You kind of were just so happy that you were in a relationship that was going to lead to marriage, that was going to be, where you were going to be able to create a family, and didn't really take the time to say, hey, is this who I'm supposed to be. So I do know for the future, really praying is like the number one thing. Like praying, I'm like, who is this person? Reveal this person to me. And then of course, doesn't mean that you're perfect, but I would say it's definitely, it's definitely a challenge. Number 3, I would definitely say in terms of just the overall overcoming heartbreak, I would say the biggest challenge is also kind of being scared for your next opportunity, in the sense of the next time you meet someone, because of course life moves on. And so even though you're in a heartbreak doesn't mean you're trying to go back, just making that clear. But there's going to be another opportunity where you are going to meet someone, and that person may be the person that you spend the rest of your life with and have a family. But I think in a sense, I've never been scared. Like me moving on, I've always been the type that's like, bye, and then move on and go to the next. But I feel like in this season, it's just been a little bit more challenging. And I think when I'm looking at future opportunities and future people to date, it's just, I almost feel like scared. I feel scared because I think I'm just so nervous to waste time. I mean, I know everyone says once you hit 30, that doesn't mean your life is over. But for me, I thought by now, again, I would have the kids, I would have been married, I would have the whole family. But I feel like I don't want to waste any more time. Like I'm so nervous to do that. And of course, your experiences teach you things, and so they're not a waste of time. But there's also a part of me that's like, I don't want to go through this type of situation again. I don't want to be in a situation where I feel like I know someone and then I meet somebody totally different. And so I think it's also scary. It's scary because it's like, okay, like you feel like you know someone and then you don't. And so how do I make sure that this doesn't happen again? Of course, 1, making sure you have a strong relationship with God, but 2, I don't know. I really don't know. And I guess with life, it's a gamble. Whatever you do is a gamble. When you start a business, it's a gamble. When you fall in love, it's a gamble. Anything is a gamble. But I think also being in a space where I'm looking forward to the future and looking forward to having a life partner and looking forward to having a family, but also just feeling so scared, like, oh my goodness, I hope I don't, go into the same dynamic. And so again, this is just kind of like more of a rant and more of a conversation with myself on overcoming just heartbreak and just, moving through it. And again, it's an ebbs and flow. Like you have your times where you are like, I am good to go. And then you have your times where you're like, wow, like I go back to the questioning God, like, why did you allow this to happen to me? You knew that, starting a family was out of all of the things on my list, that was like top priority. And I feel like you knew that and you allowed me to get into this situation. So it's also like very heartbreaking. I think also like being in a space where you have a vision for your life and you know where you're looking to go and you feel like, okay, I'm on the right path. Like this is what I'm going to do to get to this point, or this is the person that I'm going to be with so that I can create that family, so I can have this love. And then life just shifts and it looks totally different. And maybe the person that you're with isn't the person that you thought they were. And then the family that you're envisioning, now that no longer is happening. I think that having that shift is really hard. It's really, really hard. I think sometimes I look at it and say like the heartbreak is not really losing the person, but the heartbreak is knowing that I had a vision for my life and I thought my life was going in this direction and now it's going in a different direction. And so I think that is when God like shifts your life, like this is not for you. And I knew that at a certain point in the dynamic, I knew that I was not supposed to be there. I knew that for a fact. But it was like, man, it's so clear that I'm not supposed to be with this person. Why didn't I get that in the beginning? You know what I mean? Because you spend this time, you get to know someone, you fall in love with someone, and then it's like, you know what I mean? I think another part of overcoming heartbreak is that I can be hard on myself. I'm much better now, but I think overall in this experience, I have been like also hard on myself as well. Like, one, how did you not see certain things? It's so crazy. What I know now, I'm looking back, there was things that were there, but I just was not, I guess it didn't register. So I think one, being upset with myself for like, girl, you saw the signs, you saw certain things. Why did you do that? So that's one. I think 2, just feeling like, dang, we're back at the same space. Like we've been through, similar situations. Like, and I think at that point with kind of saying like, okay, we're starting to see a cycle here. You have to look at yourself. Like and you speaking about me, I am the main factor, I'm the main denominator in all of the relationships. So what is it that you are doing where there's a lesson that's not being learned? And that's why we're continuing the same cycle. And that's why we continue to have the same heartbreak, is because you didn't learn from the last one and the one before that. And so I think that also made me look at myself and say, okay, what are the things that I need to do differently? One is really having a better understanding of someone. I'm Haitian, okay? Haitian American, and I feel like Haitian people fall in love very fast. I don't know, if you're Haitian, comment below and tell me if this is true. Do Haitian people fall in love quickly? I know I do. So I am such a lover girl. Like, I love love. And so I feel like I'm a lovable person, and a lot of times in the beginning, I meet someone who's also the same. And so it's like a quick connection. And so I feel like just moving forward, just really getting to know someone and really being their friend and learning their character. Character trumps everything. Like, who are you when things don't work out? Who are you when life doesn't plan out the way that you want it to? What happens when you're upset? What happens when you're angry? What happens when your money's funny? Like, who are you? And so I think also looking more so at the character, I think is important. I used to, when people would say they're waiting until marriage, I would be like, that's a lot. But now I understand why people do that. I understand why there are certain things that are put in place, like in faith or in the Bible, because this is just my thought process. I understand why people wait, and I can see why people do that, because it allows you to see somebody's character. That doesn't mean that you won't go through a divorce, or that doesn't mean that you won't go through hard times, but it allows you to have this, I don't want to say vision, but it allows you to really see the person for who they are. Whereas a lot of times when you are doing all the do's, you kind of like, that's no problem, right? And so I think it's just really having a better understanding of someone, really understanding their character and where they're looking to go. And not saying that you have to be with someone for a long period of time. I still don't believe that you need to be with somebody for 2 years before you make a decision. I don't believe that. I believe that you can still do it in a shorter amount of time, but you have to use that time wisely, like really, really getting to know that person. So again, I think just reflecting on my own self and like, okay, girl, we keep going through the same cycle. You know, we want to be with someone stable. We want to be with someone that is looking to grow in life and just, you know, not making the same mistakes. And I would say for me, and I talked about this in one of the other videos, is not making excuses for people. And so the little signs that I see in the beginning, that doesn't mean the first red flag you're gone, but some of these red flags you got to be gone. So just again, really identifying what are some things that hasn't worked in the past. And you want, like for me, I know for the next person, I don't want them to have to get the remnants of what has happened, right? And so I want us to start from a clean slate. And so that really, you know, involves healing. And I think I'm in a good space. I really do believe I'm in a good space. I go back and forth. With the space that I'm in. But honestly, having the conversation I feel is so healthy. And, you know, I have a lot of conversations with God. Again, sometimes I'm like, thank you for taking me out of that. And honestly, where I am today, I had to be here. I absolutely had to be here. But the journey to get here was just so challenging. And I know when I was going through my hardship, I was praying to God. I was like, don't allow this to change my heart posture. I know I'm upset. I know I'm angry. I know I feel like I'm in the same cycle. I know I feel like you didn't protect me, but allow me to be stronger in this realm. Like, allow me to be stronger in this space when I meet the next person. Allow this to make me love them even more. Allow this to make me be a better mother. Like, allow this to push me to be better. Whatever calling you have for me, to allow it to make me better. And so I think that's just kind of where I'm at now with things. And even when I was in the midst of the hardship, I was praying that prayer. But yeah, that's just kind of where I've been. I think the biggest thing also, I'm so glad that I have great friends and family who during that time was like really like calling, are you okay? How are things going? But once that period ends, like, you still can kind of grieve. Like, you can still have a grieving period. And of course, you don't want to keep talking about the same thing, especially if they're like, listen, that person, like, you know, Sometimes your friends don't want to hear that, right? And so I think it's really important, one, to have a relationship with God, two, if you can afford therapy, to get a great therapist, and three, just have healthy outlets. Sometimes you just need to walk and talk with God. Sometimes you need to just walk and listen to a podcast. Sometimes you just need to walk and just walk. Sometimes you need to go for a run. You know what I mean? Whatever that looks like for you. But I think just in this, in the season that I was in, but just also realizing that it's okay to feel sad. It's okay to feel angry. And I think more so lately, I've been feeling more angry. Like, again, why did you allow this to happen? And also the person, and of course, not having communication with this person, but also feeling like, why did you do that? Like, what, why? I think also being upset with them and like, why? And, I think that's the biggest thing, is just kind of like, why did you allow this to happen? Or it's just like a lot of whys. But of course, with anything, there's always two sides to the story. So, right, there can be a whole completely another side to that person's story, but just also feeling angry, like why? And I think also for me, again, I am not perfect. There are so many things that I need to work on. But I feel like I put my best foot forward. I feel like I truly, truly, truly gave it my all. I truly felt like I did the work. Again, there are still things that I definitely need to work on. Like, when it comes to communication, I need to work on that. When it comes to just a lot of different things that I'm going to continue to work on. But it also feels like, man, I really did my best. And so I do feel good knowing that I did my best. But it's, it's still challenging. It's still a ebbs and flow. And I think a lot of times when we see people who go through heartbreaks, they kind of go through it, they move on, they get someone else. But for me, it definitely has been a cycle. So I don't know, anybody who's going through heartbreak or overcoming a heartbreak, I know one thing for me, I love watching Latarius R. Whitfield, his Dear Future Wifey podcast. I love listening to his podcast and hearing people who have overcome heartbreak, and they're in beautiful marriages now. Of course, their marriage doesn't mean it's perfect, but they were able to find love. When I see family members and friends where I know their testimony and they were able to find someone, it's so inspiring. So for me, I just pray that, just continuing to go through the motions, but really get to a place of really true healing. I used to laugh at people who said they were healing. I would be like, what are all y'all healing from? Like, God dang. Now I get it, because I'm in the healing phase as well. But I pray that the next person that I'm supposed to be with, that it is such a beautiful union. Of course it won't be perfect. Of course I won't be perfect, but I will make sure that I'm doing the work now and when I am in the relationship. But yeah, that is just kind of where my ebbs and flows are with everything. Again, just questioning God and where he stood, and me just kind of reflecting on where I've been and what I could have done better, and just try not to be so hard on myself as well, on missing huge signs as well. But then also, I think another part of it before I end the podcast or end the episode is that I feel like you also have to give, and this is so crazy, you also have to give the other person grace as well. Because although you were there and you had your experience, again, there's always two sides to the story. You don't know what other people are dealing with. I realize that, like, you may think you know someone, but there are just some things that you just don't know. You just don't know. And so yeah, that's where I'm at with that. In terms of overcoming heartbreak, and we're looking forward to the future, but just also still working through some things. But anyways, thank you all so much for watching this episode. If you know anybody who would be interested, please share with them. Please comment, like, and subscribe. And anyone who has been through heartbreak, because we all have, or anyone who's in the midst of that, like, what healthy things are you doing to make sure that you're in a good space? Are you listening to podcasts? Are you reading books? Are you going for walks? Are you working out? Like, what are you doing? And so thank you for watching. And I'm here. If you're new, I post a video every Sunday, so make sure you stay tuned in. And again, please share with anyone who may be interested. So see you all. Have a happy Sunday.